If you're naturally introverted, stuck in your head 24/7 and forever replaying everything in your mind over and over that you've ever said to everyone, and if your brain just won't switch off even when you're exhausted and need sleep, and if you've tried all the overthinking advice out there but nothing works, nothing sticks, then this video might finally give you the answers that you've been looking for and make you realize that you're not broken, you're not alone, and it's most certainly not your fault. So many introverts think there's something wrong with them because they just can't stop overthinking. You've watched all the videos out there, you've read the blogs, the tips, and the tools, you've tried it all, and yet nothing sticks. It leaves you feeling frustrated, angry, it's exhausting, and finally you just conclude that there must be something wrong with you. Somehow you're broken. But here's what I've come to learn, and this is what I'm going to share with you today: why your brain does this and why it actually makes sense. The deeper reason that introverts get stuck in thought loops, overthinking, and a gentle reframe that might change how you treat yourself going forward with more kindness and empathy. So what if your overthinking isn't actually a flaw, but a form of protection? If you're anything like me, I used to wake up in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. with a kind of jolt and think, oh my God, that thing that I said to that person earlier, they're going to think I'm crazy. They're going to think I'm weird. Was I abrupt? Was I not feeling enough? Was I too honest? Was I not honest enough? Was I embarrassed? Did I go bright red? Did I seem shy or nervous? Are they judging me? Overthinking, overthinking, and worrying. Or perhaps I'd get a text from a friend inviting me to some social event, and I just didn't want to go. It just felt too overwhelming for me, too many people. And I'd pick up my phone, I'd look at it, and I'd stare at it for what felt like an eternity for hours, trying to craft the perfect response to just say, no, thanks for the invite, but I'm not really up to it. And I'd want to feel like I'm not offending them, I'm not upsetting them, I'm not too direct. I'd want to make sure they didn't judge me, they didn't think I was weird, they wouldn't come back with loads of questions. We'll just do this and just come along, we want you to be there. The guilt, the shame, and everything else just builds up, overthinking and overthinking. But what I didn't actually realize at the time was that that was just a protective mechanism, an adaptive strategy that was learned from an early age in order to keep me safe. My nervous system wasn't regulated, it didn't feel safe, and I'm trying to look for that safety everywhere and literally cannot find it. So I start to overthink. We disconnect from our bodies and get trapped in our heads, in our thoughts. So overthinking is actually what happens when your body, your mind, doesn't feel safe in the present moment. It's not weakness, it's actually a survival strategy, especially common in those people who've been shamed, judged, or misunderstood when they were younger. Everyone thinks that introverts are calm and quiet, sensitive and shy, but inside, internally, it feels like absolute chaos. I always used to get told all the time that I'm too quiet, too shy, too sensitive, especially by my own mum. And that made me feel like I was somehow flawed, broken, that those things weren't okay. It wasn't okay to be quiet. It wasn't okay to be shy. Ultimately, the conclusion is it's not okay to be me. So we introverts are desperately trying to reconcile that. Well, if it's not okay to be quiet, shy, and introverted, then I must have to be the complete opposite. Well, how do we get there? We become heady, we overthink, we strategize, we plan everything we need to do and say, but that becomes overwhelming. And for me, I ended up turning to alcohol. I was a huge binge drinker because that made me extroverted. That made me, this kind of wild party guy that will talk to anyone. And ultimately, that made me a bit of a dick because I wasn't being authentically me, but I built up this persona based off of alcohol that I couldn't undo. And that's the thing about being an introvert. You feel everything so deeply, but we internalize it. It's a painful, excruciatingly painful experience. We feel lonely. It feels like we have to carry that burden, that real heavy weight on our shoulders, all on our own. You don't show it to the outside world. You just process it internally. You carry it with you wherever you go. So your overthinking is, in a way, linked to your sensitivity, but not in a bad way. the fact that you're deeply attuned, but not to yourself and your own needs, you're trying to attune to everyone else around you to work out what it is they expect of you, what they want from you, so you can try and somehow deliver that. And that's where we turn to the brain to try and problem solve it. Because when you were growing up, you learned to read everyone else. You learned to read their needs, what they were thinking. And if they were okay, then you were okay. You could breathe. You could be. And that's really exhausting. And that's not being broken. That's just a wonderfully powerful, beautiful adaptive mechanism at play. So I'm curious now, is any of this landing for you? Does it make sense? Are you thinking, wow, yeah, that's me? Does it resonate? If so, let me know in the comments below, even if it's just a yes, this is me, because I think it's really important to share and to speak it out and know that you're not alone with this. So this might seem like a strange question. You might not be able to answer it, but have you ever caught yourself overthinking, thinking so much just to avoid feeling, just to avoid painful emotions? So there have been so many times when I've been in therapy sessions with my teacher, Gaia Bellini, and sadness has come up for me, or anger or grief. And instead of allowing myself to feel them, to allow them, to process them, I start to judge them. I start to overthink. I start to try and suppress them and push them down. And that's really not healthy. It's adaptive. It was needed when I was younger, but it's not healthy now as an adult. So I suppress them. So instead of allowing, instead of being connected to my entire body, I'm trying to manage myself. I'm trying to manage and handle the situation with my mind, which of course leads to overthinking. And a lot of us, especially introverts, learn to do this because as kids, feeling certain emotions, being a certain way wasn't allowed. We were judged, we were ignored, we were told we needed to be a certain way. In the example earlier, it wasn't okay for me to be quiet and shy because that was deemed as wrong. That would reflect badly on my parents. I had to be something other than I was. So, of course, we learn to suppress those emotions, push down who we really are, and try and become this fake person. We try and become this imposter in our own lives. And the only way to do that, the only mechanism that we have is to use this. So, no wonder we're trapped in our own minds like some sort of prisoner. So now you think instead of feel. You spiral instead of soften. Not because you're weak, but because your body still thinks that feelings aren't safe. They're not okay to be felt. So I mentioned earlier that overthinking is actually a form of protection. It's an adaptive strategy that we learn from an early age in order to keep us safe, to prevent us from feeling painful emotions that were deemed to not be allowed, that weren't okay. So we push them down and suppress them. But underneath that, we develop this idea, this thought, this belief that somehow we are fundamentally flawed. There's something wrong with us. We're different and we're broken. And to address that, I actually created something for people who feel like that. And it's actually something that I wish I'd have had decades ago. It's free, it's honest, it's called You're Not Broken, and you can grab a copy from the description box below. I hope this video has been useful. As always, if you've got any questions or comments or anything you'd like to add, even as an introvert, then another invitation to drop a comment down below. Have a beautiful day. Big love, John.